Welcome back to the HB 2-Minute Game Podcast. I'm your host, Manny Thompson. Of course, I'm with Coach John Crawley. Fun episode for you today. We don't have to really talk about the bye recap, but we have Richmond coming this week, so we're going to talk a bit about that. We have an exciting guest, Hall of Famer. Some compare him to Eddie Murphy, but Dan Lomas from High Point. He's got inducted to the High Point Hall of Fame. We have a great conversation with him, so hopefully you guys enjoy. This is his helmet. This is not my helmet, as you guys can see. I'll take this off, and it's been me the whole time. So we'll show that off. So let's get into it. Talk about how we got better this week with kind of the practices.
No, it was definitely nice to take a breath. Last weekend with a Hobart and a Cornell trip all together for 4 days. A lot to reflect on, and a lot from our entire conference slate to reflect on and see what do we need to do to get better. And I think we did that. Had some took some extended time off for some of our guys who have been beat up or got some nagging injuries. So nice to get everybody physically healthy and just went back to the drawing board of competing and falling back on our principles, falling back on our general habits. It was nice to sneak an extra couple lifts in, which after after a week of 2 games in 3 days and then throughout the season having different points in time where we're only able to get maybe 1 lift in a week, to be able to get 4 lifts in between that last game and the next one. I think more than anything it's just like a back to basics. We're at the point in the season where we're not chalking up anything new. We really have to fall back on our fundamentals. Really gotta fall back on the things that we find most important. And so it was just great to just get back to like competing out at practice and not having to worry about another team or a scout team or all these kinds of things. Like we just got back to working on us and we're able to compete for a few days out on the field and in the weight room, which is always nice.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we got a big matchup this weekend.
Sure do.
We played number 5 ranked Richmond, and they've kind of been on the headlines over they were number 1 at some point. Kind of talk about what we should expect this weekend with Military Appreciation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, we're seeing another top 10 team, and I think that we've done that throughout this year, both in scrimmages and also in games and our out of conference scheduling. What we're expecting is the best of all of them. To be honest with you, I think that they are incredibly well coached. Coach Chamati and his staff do a really good job of being buttoned up on the offensive and the defensive side of the field. I mean, they're a top 5 defense in the country and the number 1 offense in the country. Like inside the boxes, they are excellent. And then between the boxes, in the middle of the field, they have been excellent as well. What we're expecting to see is the best team we've seen all year. And, I think that our guys are excited for that, being a team that's within our conference, being a team that, a year ago ends our season, in a conference championship game. I think our guys are going to be excited about that. They deserve all of the headlines that they've had all year. I think sometimes, when a team that's not like necessarily one of the top 3 conferences in lacrosse, when one of those teams ends up going on a run, you see lacrosse Twitter and you see all the press and you see like, oh, maybe this is a team that's like a flash in the pan. Sure. And it's like, oh, they've won a couple games or they upset some teams. Like that is not the team we're seeing. They're not a flash in the pan. They're a group that's very connected. They're a group that's very disciplined in what they want to get accomplished. They are very good at what they do, and they're multiple in what they do. And so, we're expecting to see the best team we've seen all year. And, it's the most important game we have all year. And I think that, viewers of this podcast have probably heard me say that probably every week, because I say it to our team every week. It's just the game ahead of us. It doesn't have to be overhyped. No game has to be overhyped or underhyped. It's the most important game of our year, and this is the best team that we're going to play. because it's just the one we have right here in front of us.
Sure.
So I think our guys are seeing the importance that we're putting on every game to be equal and to understand that this is an important one. But there's no way of getting around a team that's, or getting a little bit more excited for a team that is that has performed as well as they have this year, and then also with the way that they ended our year last year and in years before that. So we're excited. We're going to expect is a hard-nosed game, a team that's very, very disciplined, and we're going to have to be our best.
No doubt. Well, that game is Friday, not Saturday. That game is Friday at 5 p.m. here at Burt Stadium. It's our military appreciation game, so we get to honor any active and former military members. That's always a fun time.
Yeah, and that's a particularly fun time and an important one for not only this team but this entire institution, sure. Right? This university prides itself in its values in God, family, and country, and you see that every turn you make. You walk around campus and you see big American flags. You see quads dedicated to fallen soldiers. Mm-hmm. You see different statues that maybe are about former generals or military leaders. Like, God, family, and country matters to this place. Yeah. And in turn, that attracts a group of young men who it matters to. Yeah. And so, I think that I always say, the biggest hype, everybody likes to talk about, your pregame soundtracks and the things that you listen to before the game to get you hyped. Like, there's nothing that gets you hyped like the national anthem. Yeah. And I think that we have a team that truly believes that and thinks that. And we have a program that while young, has a lot of people who have gone into the armed forces. So to be able for it to be our military appreciation night, for our players to reflect on people within this program, but also people within their lives that have served in whatever branch of military. I think that it hits in a lot of different directions for this program, this team. And so again, just, being able to understand that I always think military appreciation, one of the most important parts of it is that it should kind of put everything into perspective for us a little bit. Yeah. We pour so much into this game, into our preparation. And sometimes when you do that, you start to become very single-minded and focused in the fact that, like, there's nothing more important than this. And there's nothing harder than going and winning a championship. And in reality, that's not true. There are people who go and serve for our country, for our freedoms, and for everybody that's here. That's hard. Yeah. And being somebody to give, ultimately the ultimate sacrifice, if that was the case, right? Like, those are real life situations. And I think that sometimes it allows us as coaches and for our players to, take a step back and say, all right, like, we get to play a kid's game. Yeah. And we should make sure that we also have a smile on our face for it and do it in a way that would make those in the military proud in the way that we're preparing, in the way that we're competing, but we also it allows us to keep some things into perspective, which I think is important for our players who and our coaches who pour a lot into this thing. So to be able to do it for something bigger than yourself, to be able to appreciate the armed forces, the military, and military personnel, and all of those kinds of things, I think is just a cherry on top to what I think should be a really fun Friday night. Yeah,
well, we're excited for it. Make sure you come out and support the Panthers. I want to give two more quick shout-outs. Ryan Marengo winning a Oscar last night, the Vance Davis Award.
I believe so, yeah.
For scholar athlete, male scholar athlete at High Point University. And Scott Moore bringing the Iron Panther, which goes to basically the
biggest meathead.
Biggest meathead.
Yeah.
The numbers for his ego, so that's good to see for the locker room. Shout out to Scott and Ryan.
Yeah, well, Ryan not only has done it in the classroom, right? He's a kid who has served our program and served the greater community around us. He has been coined the South Jersey Santa for his efforts around Christmas time, and the Ronald McDonald Foundation and all that he does to get gifts and provide for those less fortunate or for those who are sick. And so, to see him come away with an award about academics and community service, I think, is a testament to all he does. I mean, it's been really cool to watch him lead and lead those efforts. And then for Scott Moore, you mentioned the pumping of the ego, but in all reality, Scotty has been as fierce of a competitor on the field, but also off the field. Than our team has, and I think that to see him be recognized for, he's been a guy who came in here as a face-off guy, then was moved to defensive midfield last year, and that changed his training, and he poured all the way into that this summer, to see him get that award and for all of his hard work and his consistency. While it might be a fluff to his ego that we have to chop him down a little bit for, I do think it's well deserved, and I'm proud of all the work that he's put in, and how much he's bought into the weight room with us coming here in the last 2 years, and how he's shifted his training, and so really proud of both those guys, and it was cool to see those guys celebrated last night at the Poskers.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I know Scott's parents are confirmed listeners. They told me. So if you're watching this, if you're not, you missed your opportunity. Well, let's cut to us talking to Hall of Famer Dan Lomas, and cut to us. Welcome back. We have a special guest on today, Dan Lomas, class of 2016. I'll read you his bio. I wrote it all myself. Hometown Burlington, Ontario. He's now the assistant vice president of Gallagher Re. He was a 3-time captain, member of one of the first ever classes to go through High Point Lacrosse. Get this, you stat nerds. He had 159 goals and 24 assists in his career. He was the SoCon Offensive Player of the Year his junior season. 2-time first team All-SoCon. Drafted by the Ohio Machine. Then he played in the MLL bubble. And he also played for the Rochester Nighthawks in the NLL, 8-year pro career. And he's the first ever High Point men's lacrosse player inducted into the High Point Hall of Fame, which is on May 16th. Welcome to the show, Mr. Dan Lomas. Dan, by the way, that was all from the heart, and I meant every word, man.
Yeah, nothing scripted, and you knew it all off the top of your head.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me, boys. It's awesome.
Yeah, well,
we got his helmet.
And we got his helmet. He left this.
Lucky us.
He left this bad boy behind. Obviously,
it's been my office decorum since.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I look way unathletic wearing it.
Might be a little extra room in there.
Well, Dan, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. That's pretty exciting news, obviously, because you're the first person ever in this program's history to get inducted to the Hall of Fame. Kind of talk about kind of your emotions when you first kind of heard the news and how kind of honored you are to be inducted.
Yeah, I think it was. First of all, it was a surprise. I think that, first and foremost, but I think it was pretty interesting because funny enough, I was in a series of work meetings that day, and kind of stepped out to take the call, and was just immediately flooded with just the emotion of. It was weird. It was like I've had flashbacks to every kind of individual moment at school, whether it was the really horrible punish and run type days in the morning, or celebrating a win, or just kind of giving your teammate a hug on the weekend after a game. Those kind of things come back, and then it goes even deeper to flashing back to all the time with your parents and how much they sacrificed to kind of drive to practice, and one parent's going one way, one parent's going the other with each kid, and it was just everything kind of came back at once, which was really cool. And I think it also just made me feel a bit old because it's I think mentally I don't feel like I'm 10 years out of school, but that kind of solidified. But man, I don't know. It was just it was really special because then you get to kind of start calling. It gives you an excuse to reach out to all the guys again, right?
Yeah.
And I think all of us started to just feel those memories come back, and just talking about how crazy we were to go through the whole thing, and how again some of those days were awful, but the good ones were really good too.
No doubt. Well, kind of tell us. Let's kind of go back. Kind of tell us your experience at High Point. I mean, coming from Canada, it's obviously kind of probably a big culture shock coming to America and kind of playing field lacrosse for the first ever time. I don't know if you remember this, but because you obviously played with my brother Jeff.
Yeah.
I think you're obviously the first Canadian I think I've ever met. So you have that Hall of Fame and first Canadian.
A lot of
firsts going on here.
Love it.
And so I remember like we were at a Bojangles. Again, you probably don't remember this, but I have a weird memory. We were at a Bojangles, and you were telling Jeff like that you'd never played like kind of field lacrosse before, and I always thought that was kind of a weird like how how the Torpy even like see that. But kind of tell you what was that transition one coming to America and then playing field lacrosse.
I keep laughing every time you say "coming to America." It feels like I'm like an Eddie Murphy movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, you had the Eddie Murphy. Yeah. It's the crooked area.
I rode in on my dog sled and just was like trying to figure out what to do.
From this foreign land.
Yeah, exactly. But no, man, well, so growing up, like box lacrosse was obviously like the biggest thing that we played. But I think I think it started when you're like 12 or so. You did start to play field lacrosse, but picture like Canadian field lacrosse as all 6 guys trying to cut to the crease at the same time to get open. So it was very much like there was no structure to it. It was kind of like, if you're good enough, you just try to beat your guy and go to the net. And I think, for me at first it was a shock, and I was like, man, I remember this early on because I was so nervous about which stick to use, because obviously growing up, it's like you have the widest head possible with like no pocket in it. That's just like kind of the way we're taught how to play the game. And like, so I had 2 sticks. I had one stick that was the one I liked using that was like that, but I didn't want to embarrass myself if we ever did like one-on-one drills. So I had this other stick that was way more pinched and had a huge pocket in it. So I would run over to the sideline and grab that whenever we were doing one-on-one drills, but I couldn't get the ball out of my stick. So that quickly resulted in Torpy yelling at me a little bit. But no, man, I remember the first practice, we had like captain scrimmage, and we were up on the grass fields, which is obviously where the basketball stadium is now. And I remember Bucky Smith wasn't practicing for some reason. I think his back was hurt, and so he was reffing the scrimmage. And I turned the ball over like literally 8 times in 12 seconds, and because I was just like trying to do things so quick, and then you're in your head like, okay, I got to impress these guys. You kind of want to like show you're there for a reason. And he came up to me and was just like, dude, what are you doing? And we just it was like kind of like a little bit of a reset. I think we joked about it later that he was like, I thought you were the worst player on the field. And at the time he was right. But honestly, it was, the transition was made a little easier just because like the guys were so awesome. And like, you come down, obviously it's far from home, and not to mention, a place like High Point is a place like, I'd never seen something like that in my life. And, I didn't know what cool clothes were. I didn't know what cool cars were. Like, I was like walking around in my like Burlington Chiefs Reebok shorts, like trying to just figure life out. And, but the second it's like you meet guys like this, like Hunter Edens, and I was fortunate enough to have Jamie Peluso as my freshman year roommate. And like, I think we went through a lot together where it was, we're both just laying in those Finch dorms, like thinking like, what is happening here today? But it was so much like, it just gave us the opportunity to vent together. And I think funny enough, actually, on that note, Palouse thought I was like 25 years old when I came in as a freshman. And I don't know if that was specifically targeting my hairline, but it was so. And at the time, I think Palouse might have been 17, so there was quite the age disparity there. But yeah, man, I was nervous. It was a bit scary, but the boys made it pretty easy to transition in coming to America.
Now, Dan, you mentioned coming down. You mentioned playing for the Burlington Chiefs and everything. What did your recruiting process look like? Were you just playing, junior A or in box lacrosse? Were you, playing in the Canada games? Like how did Coach Torpy and his staff point you out, and ultimately how did you end up choosing High Point, and what did that process look like?
Yeah, honestly, I was so I did a PG year, and because at the time I wanted to kind of get one specific math course. I wanted to get a higher grade in it because I was planning on going to Canadian University at the time. And then I had a good summer playing box, and I had paid my housing deposit and was ready to go to the Rochester Institute of Technology. And then, coincidentally, that at that same time in that same summer, I went and played in the All Canada Games. And I remember after like the second or third game, I just see this guy kind of wandering over to me, and I'd never talked to a coach before. None of my friends had really given me insight into what the recruiting process was like. So it was just like, again, honestly, I think the coming to America comparison is hilarious because I was Eddie Murphy walking around like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know which way is up. I'm just like, I'm going to go play lacrosse and see what happens. And Coach Tracy came up to me and he said, "Hi, I'm Pat Tracy from High Point." And I was like, "Well, don't bother talking to me. I'm Canadian. I can't go to the Army." And it was very, very quickly figured out that was not the case. And so I think it was, and I still think about this day. Like, I could never do it now, but we played 3 games in one day for the All Canada Games during the day. And then that night at 8:00 had a junior A game in St. Catharines. So all the coaches from the All Canada Games came to that and took that game in. And I guess I had a good game. And I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, flew down and my parents couldn't make it. So it was, again, it's just me that flew down to school to do the visit. Did the visit and then was sitting in the airport terminal on the way home and called my parents and just said, like, I'm not going anywhere else. And that was probably partially because Torpy was calling me 18 times every 5 minutes to get me to commit on the spot. But it was, I would say unorthodox recruiting for sure. But it all worked out, man.
Yeah. Well, during your time here, like we said in the bio, you were a 3-time captain. We had your friend Matt Thistle on the podcast last week. What was it like being a captain alongside him, and what did you learn kind of as a young leader?
Yeah, I think I think it's, and he would say the same thing. It's like, I think we had our moments of kind of bashing our heads together in a competitive way, or even in like just disagreements in approaches to off the field stuff. But I think that was what made me a better person, man. Was just like we were both kind of raised in similar environments, being the youngest of 3 brothers. And I think that was a lot of the reason that we got along. And, we, like I said, we had our competition all the time, but, when push came to shove, we knew that was going to make both of us better. But the way that his approach to leadership, man, was always just like, he wanted to make everybody feel heard. And I think that was something that I kind of overlooked at times, and probably, again, when growing up, and it's like you've got 15-20 guys on a box lacrosse team, right, and you're kind of all just as important as the other, and playing every shift and stuff like that. And I think this kind of just taught me the importance of every single person on a roster at school being as important as the next, and that they matter and they should have an opinion. And I think the other thing is he taught me what eating habits can be. I don't think I learned what a chicken finger pizza is, which is a chicken finger pizza. And we spent a lot of time, man, living together and watching every romantic comedy ever under the sun. We had animated movie Sundays, just living the dream, man. It was some of the best times of my life, where life was just kind of right in front of you, and there was no other concerns other than putting the cleats on and going and practicing hard, and just having a good time with your guys.
Do you have a side to, I don't know if you watched last week's episode, but do you have a side to this whole Snickers debate that Jeff H. submitted a question for?
I didn't see that part of it. What is it?
So, Jeff submitted a question asking for Thistle's side of the whole Snickers on the bedside table debate. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I don't even know if I know about this. What is this?
There was a Snickers left on Matt Thistle's bedside table for, he liked to say a couple weeks, but I think Jeff saying it was a month or so. There was just a half-eaten Snickers on his side of the table.
Oh, that's not even that's not even close to some of the stuff that would go on. There would be
We can't blow him up without him being here to defend himself right now. This is a tough situation here.
It is, and I don't want to. We don't want to talk bad about him that way, but yeah, it was. Let's just say there was at one point in time there was maybe a situation where somehow my beard trimmer was used in my bathroom, and it was facial hair that was not the color of mine. So
it is tough if you're a redhead to get away with something like that. Yeah. That's not easy.
And then he quickly blamed Richard Bird, which was even funnier. Anyways, yeah, no, living with this was fun because you never knew what you were going to get.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, you mentioned obviously you come here. And that first practice, 8 turnovers, 15 seconds, to then, like, by your sophomore year, be voted a captain. It sounds like, all of you guys, just based off of the environment, like, you were forced to grow up really quick, and you were forced to lead, or you were given opportunity to lead quickly. Like, so, your sophomore captain, junior captain, senior captain, like, what do you feel like helped you grow as a leader as you were here, as again, you're forced to grow up really quickly from that guy, from that coming to America, freshman Canadian who's probably just assuming that every pass is going to come back in bounds because there are boards there, to then being a captain the next year and being able to hold people to a standard. Like, what did that growth process look like for you, and how did you do that so quickly?
Well, I think you put it well, man. Like, we didn't have a choice, and I think Torpy held this standard for us where it was, sure, you can be voted a captain or whatever, but like, he just expected, that leadership lifestyle out of all of us, and whether that was, tuck your chair in and cleaning up the calf before you leave, or showing up to practice or staying to practice late, or doing things right every single time, and then checking on your teammates, stuff like that. Like, it was just a part of our life, and I think, I was lucky that, I had Thistle as well, because he was, we both kind of came in as, had the captains the same year, and, maybe we were a bit young, but we were able to go through that together, which was great. And then, the other captains too, and like Bucky Smith is still to this day, like, one of the best leaders I've been around. And I've been fortunate to play with some pretty unbelievable people and players to come through lacrosse. And, Bucky was, not just because he was a bit older, but it was like this father figure we had amongst, 36 freshmen our first year. We have this guy that's, been through a lot of things at Navy. He's seen different sides of lacrosse. He's seen lacrosse not work out. He's seen it then come back in his life. And I think that standard that he set for all of us, it just started to bleed through everybody. So I think it just taught you, again, like, you have that trial by fire. I think first year going like 3-12 or whatever. It's like, you kind of see the lowest of low, but then you see every day in practice how much better everyone's getting. And I think all of us started to kind of just uplift and start to learn together. But yeah, I think Bucky was a huge part of that, man. Like, he taught us all what it meant to be a man. And I think that's still stayed with me now.
Do you think at your time for, like, in High Point set you up kind of like an advantage to, like, playing in the pros, or even just at your job, just kind of set you apart from, like, everyone else?
I think so. I think just the way that, like, from the playing pro lacrosse, like, the structure of everything and just holding yourself accountable, I think is, obviously it's a sport that's really unique when you get to the pros, because you're on your own all week, right? And you have to do whatever you need to do to get ready for a game. And I think playing at High Point and that self accountability bleeds through into that. And I think is a lot of the reason you see guys that go to High Point have the ability to play pro, even though they might not be the highly touted guy coming out of it. But yeah, and I think work-wise, it's the same thing, right? It's like, you find yourself sometimes in situations where it's like, maybe you're going into a boardroom to give a presentation, and there's people that are a lot more senior than you, and you're nervous, but then you kind of, at least what I like to do is just, similar to the, picture everybody in their underwear type thing. It's like, for me, I'm like, I have been through way worse 4 a.m. punishment runs or challenge weeks, and then it's like a flashback to when I almost drowned during challenge week in the pool. It's like those kind of things. It's like it just sets you up to kind of feel like you've been through more things than other people have, and you just know how to function in a team environment, and you have to be confident in that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we're going to give you some little quick hitters. Favorite game of your career at High Point?
Favorite game? Man. That's a hard one, man. There's so many good ones. You know what? I would say the one that sticks out to me is and there's obviously like there's a lot of them, but I think the one that like sticks out to me in just terms of like just a pure lacrosse game was when we beat Jacksonville in sophomore year in the Atlantic Sun semifinal of the conference tournament. We ended up winning. I think we won like 9-8. But the Jacksonville had this like huge, just like kind of meaty attackman, and him and Pat Farrell had like one of the coolest battles I think I've ever seen. And just being able to watch that from the other end of the field, and then it was one of those games where everybody was just kind of contributing and doing the little things right because nothing was really working. They scouted us really well. But like we're getting like ride backs left, right, and center. Guys are hammering. Like I remember the first face off. I forget who it was. But like our LSM comes across and hammers their face off guy. And it felt like a playoff hockey game. Makes you want to feel. Yeah. And like that. And then at the end it was like 9-8. We all were so dead in the dead heat at Mercer. And then you turn the page and just ready for the final. So I think those kind of games stick out to me because it's just like the grind to win. Rather than like, a flashy win over a big school or whatever. It's like the ones where that team knows you better than the back of their hand, but you still find a way to get it done.
Very cool answer. That's awesome. So we have an American concept for the Mount Rushmore.
I'm familiar with the Mount Rushmore.
As the Eddie Murphy of the...
Do they have a Mount Rushmore in Canada? Do they have...
Yeah.
Little Tim Hortons.
Niagara Falls, yeah, sure.
Give me your Mount Rushmore of Canadian lacrosse players from the High Point program. And you can put yourself on there.
This can be on and off the field.
That's my question. Is this on and off or what?
Yes.
I mean, Mayo's. Man, that guy is. I didn't realize. Obviously, I've watched more NHL games, and I think him taking a couple summers off playing box lacrosse there, like he just like wasn't getting enough appreciation. That guy is like,
he's killing it right now.
Yeah, he is.
He's just so good, man, and it's so fun to watch because it's it's not incredibly often that you have like a pretty athletic jump and do all that kind of stuff Canadian guy. Like it's usually just stick skills sort of thing, but he's incredibly impressive, man, and he's such a good kid. Like we spent so much time during this past alumni weekend we sat on the balcony of an Airbnb until like 3-4 in the morning just like talking about life, and it's just you just want good things for that guy because he's such a good kid. And then I would throw Connor Robinson, all-time beauty. Also a really good player, but man, there wasn't like I didn't play with a lot, but
that's fair. I'll finish the list.
Well, I mean, you're putting yourself on there.
I don't want to do that.
We'll put it on there for you.
All right, so now we got one more.
Did you ever meet Isaiah Morin Weeks? He's the only other Canadian.
Oh yeah, that's Yearsy. That's what we called him that weekend.
Yearsy.
Morin Years. So Yearsy's on there, and then my curveball pick. This is a deep cut name that any of the guys that I went to school with that might watch this will know. Tyler Vogrig was a pretty interesting cat, to say the least. He wore number 60, which would have been the worst number I've ever seen worn by like a Canadian offensive player. But I think he stuck around for like a year, and then that was it. But
it's a little deep cut. Well, you mentioned the alumni weekend. Who do you want to see at next alumni weekend that you did not see this time?
At the next alumni weekend, I'd like to just see all the boys come back. it's yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool just to meet a lot of like the younger guys, right? Because I had been back since like 2017. But yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, I think we're getting older now. It might just be like we might just have to coach the game
Yeah.
because it was yeah, I wasn't able to walk for a few days after that one. But yeah, it'd be great to see just like the older kind of classes go back, right? I think, as a program gets older and you've got more graduating classes, it's just a cool thing just to have everyone from different generations go back and tell their stories. And again, one of my favorite parts of that weekend was just sitting outside that Brown Truck Brewery, whatever it was, and hearing all the guys that graduated recently talk about how they think they had it hard, which was funny because none of them had to store their gear in their dorm room and walk it down to the practice field every day. But it's yeah, it was so much fun. We all had a blast, and then you walk out of it with 20 new brothers every time too, which is fun.
I mean, you and Fist definitely set a good kind of tempo or a tone for the older guys to hopefully come back and enjoy the weekend more, because we're definitely going to try to build it up. Like you said, just get those kind of connections of combining the older classes with the newer classes.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's that was the idea when him and I kind of talked about it. It's like I think obviously we're coming in. We got Crawls as leading the program now. We want to kind of go back and show the support from the classes that came before, and I think I think hopefully that leads to more guys wanting to go down. And the more Thistle and I tell the stories of how much fun we had that weekend, then I think it'll help.
Yeah.
Well, we obviously appreciate it back here, and I know that obviously it's a fun one for you guys to get back together, and as Maddie said, the more that we can build it up, the better. But really, what I saw coming out of the weekend is how our team reacted to having you guys there, right? And when you have that alumni base who's excited about being back and excited about meeting the guys on the team, and now you can put a face to the name. To your point, I know that you and I spoke about Carson Robbins, for example, who's now a sophomore starting lefty attackman, and the connection that you're able to make with him on that weekend, and then how that can carry over. Like it makes a bigger impact than any of you guys would think. And I think that that's what I felt on the day to day afterwards was like, all right, now there's some people that we can reference, and there are some connections that they can have to further get advice from, to talk to about, because at the end of the day, right. Well, I don't know what it looks like inside those buildings, inside those dorm rooms, inside those classrooms, but you guys do, and the connections that you guys can have is so valuable. And we felt it. We felt it all the way through. I remember, you shared with me the letter that you wrote to lacrosse. When you decided to stop playing, like that was it's been hanging in our locker room ever since. And like for our guys to be able to put that. Those two and two together, and to know that the people who came before them are proud of them and pumped for them and excited for them, and then they could really have those connections. There's just so much value in that for our team and our players. So for you and all those guys to carve out that weekend and to make the time, obviously it should be fun for you guys, but the value that it creates and brings to our current team is is something that you can't really measure.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think that's part of it too, right? Because I think when we were going through it, we didn't have those graduating classes before, right? So I think it was kind of like just figuring out, by ourselves to a certain degree, and I think, sometimes, and I learned this playing in the NLL, it's like sometimes all it takes is an older guy to just show that they care, and that gives you, like I've said this before, I think the biggest and best drug an athlete can be on is confidence, and I think. The second you get that, passed down from somebody that's a bit older than you, it just means a lot more. And I think, and we care, right? Like we want the program to do well. We want the guys to come out of there and have great jobs and great lives and be happy with their time there. And I think if we can affect that in any way, then that's something we're going to do for sure.
No doubt. Well, we have a fan submitted question from Jeff Hale.
Oh boy.
He just asks, is a kind of a two-parter. Who is Schmearsy? You can plead the fifth if you need to.
Yeah, that's Connor Kelly is who Schmearsy is, but I'm not going to get into That's,
And I think he just.
I can tell you guys. I'll tell you guys off the record after.
Okay. And I don't know if this is a question, but I think he just wants you to say bon voyant.
Bon vivant. That was the name of the bar we frequented while we were in Lagos, Portugal, for Hunter Eden's wedding, which led to, I believe, me staying out later with Jeff because I flew out earlier and missing my flight, which was an absolute pleasure to soak another flight, a same day flight from Portugal to Toronto. Turns out not cheap.
Not cheap.
Bon vivant was the reason for that, to say the least.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Well, Dan, thank you. We thank you again for taking the time for joining us, and hopefully we get to see you in your Hall of Fame induction, man.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks.
It's coming up, man. But no, I appreciate it. You guys keep doing this too. It's these are fun to watch, man. Makes it it's just enjoyable to kind of sit through this stuff. I love that you guys take the time to do it. So appreciate you having me on for sure.
Of course.
Appreciate it, brother. Sounds good.